welcome to Underpowered, a gaming podcast where even if we're busy, we still find time to game. My name is Shelby Stokes, and with me today, my tag team partner, Casey Cool.
Yo.
And guest tonight is the founder of CEO Gaming, fighting game director of ESL, and internet legend, Alex Jebaited is with us tonight.
I don't know if anybody can be a legend on the internet. So thank you guys.
You can.
Yeah.
A little bit, right?
No, thank you for having me. So I love, joining podcasts that honestly I haven't heard of before, because you never know. You might have somebody that needs to learn some lessons of what we do in the FGC. So I'm always happy to talk, and looking forward to this one because I saw some of the questions you had. So I got excited when it's not the usual that I always get.
Yeah. So I got to talk. Every time I watch interviews, I'm like, oh man, he's so nice. And then I looked at and I go, oh, he's Canadian. Duh. That makes sense. So how did you end up in America's Wiener in Florida? How did you end up down there?
I didn't have much of a choice. It was my parents' decision.
Okay.
To sum that up, both my parents are actually Middle Eastern Lebanese.
Okay.
So they got married. Their families moved to Canada, Halifax, Nova Scotia. And then they had 4 kids. I'm the youngest. And 8 months after my birth, they moved to Florida. And all I remember from growing up is you're so lucky you're the youngest because it's illegal to beat your kids in America. But yeah, so they moved down here, and my father, not many people know my actual family history, but my dad was a butcher in Canada when he moved there, while my godfather, his uncle, was a hairstylist. So when they moved to America, and it's actually still there, it's called Bailey's Meat Market in Halifax, Nova Scotia. When they moved here, my dad's like, or my uncle, who's my godfather, that's my dad's uncle, is like, I'm going to go do construction. And half of Orlando, his family or his daughter's husband have built. So, rich as shit. They've built so much in Florida, in Orlando specifically. Harbco is one of the companies. And my dad's like, I'm going to go open up a motel and sell Disney World tickets. So, he moved down to Kissimmee when there wasn't really competition, and just did Disney World tickets. So that's kind of where my history with being good with people came from. Customer service with that for 13 years, Blockbuster Video Management. So, that's pretty much the history of my family.
You're a UCF guy though, too, right?
University. Yeah. You can't finish or under construction forever.
They got a great football program in the last few years.
Now they do. Back in my day, half the stuff wasn't built. Like the year I graduated, our gym got knocked down by Hurricane Charlie. So I was like, well, not going to get buff while I can with this testosterone.
So, okay, being in Florida and studying, is there any correlation to you getting into video games then and getting into the FGC, or later after you were working in a different profession?
I think CEO wouldn't be what it does if I wasn't in Florida, but my older brothers, they all played video games. My sister and mom would just take me to the mall as a kid, like 8 years old, and go, here's $1, go have fun and ditch me. I turned out okay. So I'd play my older brothers. My oldest brother, Omar, he was actually in the beginning of the review of the Logitech Pro wheel I just did. And he was really good at Mortal Kombat 2 and 3. And I looked up to him because he was actually the first one at our local arcade, Congo River Golf, that actually built Double Dragon on 1 token. So the whole arcade's like raving him up, So I was like, oh my God, I want to be as good as my brother one day. And really, that's how a lot of us are, right? With our upbringings. Right. So I was very fortunate to have that. My sister played a little bit. She was a racing game fan. My other brother played sports games with me. So just growing up, it's an arcade thing, honestly. I wouldn't be what I am today in fighting games if I wasn't, in an arcade 8 hours on the weekend, just getting better and being forced to play.
You're 80s latchkey kid, right? You'll be fine. It's just, we'll let nature take its course. We've done that. I'm a parent. I have 2 younger ones, so Shelby, but it's way different now. I would feel horrible leaving my kid in an arcade by themselves because I think of all the bad things that could have happened to me, but also it built some character, right?
No, it was the 80s. It was like go outside, run amok. Today we're like, no, we can't let them go outside. It's like a whole different game right now.
People want to beat the shit out of me in the arcades, man, because they could have beat me in Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or whatnot. But the good thing,
so then it turns into Street Fighter in a different way.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, a lot of the arcades actually liked me because I would make them so much money from people trying to beat me. It's like a place called Malibu Grand Prix. My family became friends with the management there, and they would hang out. So my mom went with the manager of Malibu's wife to the beach together. And they would just kind of take care of me. So I used to be 13 years old walking around Malibu with my tokens. You'd hear the cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So I was very lucky in that aspect, but it all comes back to fighting games and the arcades and wouldn't change it for a second. Try to get better at video games these days. You have your online, but that experience of, if you lose, you're going to be either waiting an hour to play again, or, you got to go to another machine. It kind of naturally, like, survival of the fittest, so to speak.
The humiliation of losing on your own is much different than the humiliation of losing when tons of people are watching you, right? Yep. The arcade experience of losing to the kid that's running the table is much different, and that creates pressure for you, right? But that's also why you get good at the game. So where did you run most of your money? Where were you schooling people?
Mortal Kombat, honestly. I was more Mortal Kombat than Street Fighter as a kid. I'll never forget the Florida Mall. It's a mall near me, about 10 minutes away still. And they were the first ones to get a Champion Edition machine. And there was this guy, I don't remember the name. He was a Vega Claw player and Championship Edition. He had like 100 win streak. It didn't show win streaks, but this guy was on the machine forever. And I couldn't beat him, but I kept going back up to play with my brothers. We were all waiting in line, and I actually finally beat him when I discovered the cheese that is M. Bison's Psycho Crusher back in Champion Edition. And that's kind of where I knew, and this guy was like from out of town, you didn't know everybody, but you kind of knew everyone. You always frequent the same arcades. So I would say Championship Edition. But then when Mortal Kombat 1 came out, I used to go to an ice skating rink. I used to play hockey, ice hockey. Being Canadian, you have to, or you're not Canadian.
Right.
And, I played a ton of it. Somebody in the chat saying Tekken. Actually, Tekken 3 was where I spent most of my time with my first girlfriend ever when I was like 14 years old at another mall. And she was really good with Christy. And we would go and play there. And that's when Marvel 2 was still huge. Nice. And, Marvel 2 didn't have all the characters. So everyone's thinking Shu McGrath was the best character in the game at the time and stuff like that. But I spent most of it Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. Killer Instinct was a huge part of it. So I just played a lot. And that's why even today I play so many different games. I was never like stuck to just one game.
I see the Final Fantasy shirt, right? Yeah. So you got to love your RPG, JRPGs. Yeah. Was it a Nintendo household? Was it everything because you had older siblings, or what was your poison?
Nintendo, 100%. We never owned anything Sega until the Dreamcast. And even when we owned the Dreamcast, my father threw it out accidentally because I was moving to college. I put it in a white plastic bag with a couple other games and like couple bags. So my brother moves it to the hallway. My dad thinks it's trash. There goes, $1,000 of my hard-earned, high school Blockbuster video money and a Dreamcast with a VMU. I'll never forget it. I was so
I'm guessing Power Stone was in that white bag.
It was Marvel 2. It was Soul Calibur. And like 2, I think Choo Choo Rocket. That was a popular one then.
And then the Radio, maybe.
Yeah, no Jet Set Radio. I never played it when it first came out, but I did play it. But yeah, so growing up, my brother had the ColecoVision. Going to the Middle East a lot as a kid, they had, before it happened here, like it was a Canada thing too. They had the like 99 games and one NES cartridge, before now. You go on Amazon, buy an Android box with 10,000 games on it. But back then, there's like 99 and ones were like so rare, but if you could get them, like you were on top of the heap for that. So mostly Nintendo, but my next door neighbor, Rashawn Miller, as a kid.
Shout out Rashawn.
Yeah. I wish I knew where he was. I haven't seen him like a decade, but he had a Genesis. So I'd go play Genesis. He'd come over, play Super Nintendo and Nintendo. So mostly a Nintendo guy. And then when PlayStation 1 came out, that was the first console I had actually fully bought with my own money.
Yeah.
That's it became a PlayStation household. We used to rent it from Blockbuster. And, the deposit my brother would spend and all that. So where I'm like, just buy the damn thing. It's like, we don't know if we want to keep it at the time. Right. So yeah, but mostly Nintendo household. And then later in life, I got to go back and play all the Genesis stuff.
Yeah, the Genesis was kind of like my first introduction into fighting games. It was like the WWF style games on the Genesis. Yep. You were playing those? Yeah, that was my first foray in. Yeah.
Bulls versus Blazers. However, I will hang up this call right now if you say that the Genesis Aladdin version is better than the Super Nintendo version.
No, okay. They're the same game.
No, they're not. Totally different games. Anyways.
I know.
The button layout makes it way different. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So, okay, then before you started CEO in 2012 or 2014?
2010, actually, officially.
2010, officially. Yep. Okay, how did that come about? Because we're about the same age, and you were, I guess, an active member in the fighting game community. And Orlando has a pretty great scene for people that love fighting games, right? So was it you and a think tank going like, hey, we should do a tournament and run it? Or how's that begin? How's that start? How do you start a tournament? So we can start one. Basically, we want to start doing one up here. So what do we do?
Yeah. God, I get if I had a nickel for every time somebody
I
in the
know,
event comes
right?
up to me, hey, we want to do this huge event. It's our
It
first event
can't
we've
be
ever
that
done,
hard,
and it's
right?
gonna be
Yeah.
huge. It's not hard. It just takes time and
Right.
organic growth. But what you call it? I was always a fighting game player, but when I graduated college, I was mostly a DDR player, and I went into like a versus system card game professionally. So that was the dark ages from like 2004 to 2008 before Street Fighter 4 came out. So that was a time where I was just working, playing whatever like single player games at the time. And then CVS2 was my college game right before that. But in like 2008, when Street Fighter 4 came out, GameStop had that, that world event, the tournament where they had like 8 people from different regions qualify. And I went to one. I got to like the third round or whatever, but they were making us all use like shitty Xbox controllers, right? It wasn't like a proper FGC, and that's one of
The
those
original Xbox, where they're like as big as baseball gloves, right?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But it's just like, man, this isn't how you run a tournament. So I've always gone to like other anime cons where like, yeah, you get one game, one round, you got to use our controllers, you can't change anything. I'm like, that's not how tournaments are run. So that's also something that's made me do the way the things I do, which is a standard across most FGC events. But just would play a shit ton of games with the locals. And once Street Fighter 4 came out, we rebuilt like the Shuriken forums. We had Atlantic South, and I was doing local events in Street Fighter 4 only, really, like Blaze Blue, Chrono Phantasma at the time, Tekken 6, and we would just run tournaments. And for the locals, it was like 80 people at a time, 100. So I did that for about 2 years. Like almost every other month, I would do it like a Hooters or a bar, or a college place.
Yeah.
And then when 2010 came around, some other guy, and it's there's a documentary from Best of Bond, Hold Back to Block. It's really good. We did it less than 2 years ago, about the history of how things got started. And long story short, a guy came in, goes, hey, I've done anime cons. We want to do a fighting game event in Orlando. Alex, you seem like the guy to talk to. How can you help me promote this? We're going to do $5,000 prize pool, which in 2010 was like, oh my God, now that's nothing. Commentators try to get paid that. But he was doing it, and then he canceled it or tried to cancel it 3 weeks before, kind of ran off with a lot of people's money. I wouldn't say it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but probably like 30, 40 grand in registration money. It just disappeared. He tried doing stuff in other industries, and nobody fell for it anymore. But once he canceled it, it was a think tank. It really was on our forum, like, hey, a few people are coming into town. What can we do? And I'm like, well, I've done locals. I've had no interest in being an Evo or a final round at the time. To run a bigger event, I was just content with what I was doing. And if I'd stuck to the family business, I'd probably be in a mansion. But no, I wanted to do my own thing. So I basically go, hey, I found a venue with a Smash TO. We put it together 3 weeks, about 250 people showed up, and it was kind of history was born, basically. And I'm like, dude, if we had 3 weeks to do this, imagine what we can do in like 1 year. And that's when I started to learn about hotel contracts and all the intricacies of, if you don't book this many rooms, they're not going to give you the space, or you're going to pay the difference. And that's kind of how it was born. And then just every year I got better by going to other events. I was still a competitor, so I had that what a player want out of an event. So a lot of people come into this industry or gaming industry that don't play these games. Like, oh, we see these numbers, we see the demographics, we can run something and make all this money. And if you look historically, look at anime cons, general gaming cons, they get tens of thousands of people. We're a very hardcore niche scene, so that kind of holds us back in a way. So again, a lot of people would come up, but history is born when that game event at the time was kind of canceled. And I kind of took over and invested with the community and just put it together. And here we are today.
Well, yeah, and you like the DDR. You still have DDR side tournaments, right?
I actually have a DDR Extreme machine to my right. So Project Storm was actually early 2000s. A friend of mine, his name is Tiger, nickname Tiger, Josh, and he was doing in Daytona Beach, actually in Jacksonville, a lot of DDR events. And I would go to those. I used to compete. And he just one day he goes, hey, I'm just going to focus on my career and do, Amazon reselling. He's killing it in the gaming industry, resells, collecting and all that. So he stopped. He goes, I have no plans to do this. This is after like 10 years. And then a couple years later, he's like, hey, if you ever want to bring back Storm, people have been clamoring for it. I'm like, sure, we'll add it to CEO. And then boom, first time we did it, the largest DDR tournament in history. And so this year we're kind of hoping to get more people involved. I have other people running for me, Stephen Lowe, Vincent. These guys are really cool that kind of still play consistently. I do not. and kind of bring that in. My goal as CEO now moving forward, right? Like we did the wrestling crossovers, but there's so many communities that love fighting games that want to come to our events. But if you give them something that they enjoy as well, it'll kind of be that gateway. And we did card games last year as just open free play tabletop, which reminds me, I got a message to the guy that's going to help me run it.
You got to have like so many fires going right now too. Right?
Yeah,
like,
mostly,
with everything you're doing.
I joke. CEO is actually really easy. I have Tong Lee, who's in Las Vegas for Level Up Expo this weekend, who works with me at DreamHack as well. He handles all my staffing now. People still DM me nonstop and everything, but he handles the most stressful parts for me in the early days.
Yeah.
So now I just make sure that the bill keeps the bill's taken care of, the hotels, the contracts, the game list, all that I decide on after feedback from my attendees and members and all that kind of stuff. So, but DreamHack is what really takes up a lot of my times with consistent meetings because you're working at a bigger level of.
Because that's Counter-Strike and all the other big games too, right? For
Counter-Strike is popular. Rocket League is huge. Rocket League is incredible how it started out as a fun game. Nobody cared about it as an esport, and now it's one of the biggest ones. They sell out 6,000 person theaters in California for tournaments.
Wow.
So a lot of fires because I'm just always getting DM'd all over the place because I am that accessible, right? Like it's a blessing
that was the thing.
Curse.
I shot out to get you on the show. You're like, oh, I'm at the airport. Ask me anything. I'm like, I'm just gonna shoot my shot.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, he called my bluff.
And then what you got? And then by the way, to answer that question, Crash Tag, it'll always be a fighting game tournament first and foremost. The other stuff's just bonuses.
For those that are audio listening later, we were asked, sounds like CEO's turning into a gaming convention. Yeah, but it's always rooted. It's for fighting game fans, right? Like that's the heart of it. So
that'll be the most important. But yeah, I actually double booked 2 podcasts last night.
Yeah.
Don't worry, if you're watching this, I'm not that famous. But one time.
Well, hold on. You kids that play Twitch, this is the other thing I was wondering about. You're a Twitch meme, right? You're an emo. So do people look at you in an airport and if they don't know, you go, do they make the face at you? How often?
No, it's not that bad. People recognize me for more of the CEO stuff in public. It's when people text me, like a teacher, somebody in everyday world is like, somebody said the word Jebaited and I fucking hate you. So
it happens. I'm a teacher and it happens in my classroom every once in a while. I'm like, oh, that kid's cool. All right.
But they don't know who I am, right? And I always joke.
No, I go, do you know who that? I just heard it last week. And I go, do you know who that is? It's like, yeah, this thing. And I go, never. Okay. Good to know. I'm like, oh.
But it makes it easier for posing. I've had entire school student groups come up like, hey, we really want to do this. I'm like, of course. And it's easy. Right? It's like, okay, next,
yeah.
But
you have a signature pose. You basically, it's like you are, Hulk Hogan had.
Yeah.
I thought that's your wrestling pose. It's not, right?
But so where was I going with all that? Just being recognized is a really cool feeling, and if that puts a smile on someone's face, I'm all for it. But generally, people recognize me from like either the pro wrestling stuff I did very briefly. It's cool to see that. Like, hey, you wrestled Michael Nakazawa, and they remember the comedy of it.
Respect for doing a hardcore match too. You didn't like. I'm a huge 90s wrestling. Mankind's one of my favorite wrestlers. I read his book as a kid. So anybody that does the hardcore matches,
Well, they say you do hardcore matches because you don't know how to actually wrestle, and it's very
of course,
true,
right?
So
and then you're just a glutton for pain.
Yeah. Oh, after the torn Achilles tendon, I have all the pain tolerance in the world, man. Like
that's pretty bad.
I remember seeing something like, who would win in a fight, Jebaited or this guy? Like, bro, the guy wrestled on one leg that was limp, and still lifted a guy 200 pounds. Who do you think? I'm like, I'm not a fighter at all. I don't like confrontation, but if I have to, man, I'm gonna.
You got that random pro wrestler strength, right? Can wrestling strength.
It's because I ate so much food and turned that into the muscle.
Yeah, right. That's how it works. Then I'm so buff right now. If we're going by that.
My time's
surprised at your own strength, man. No.
Yeah. Well, I noticed too because you've been talking on your Twitter and things. I know your CEO this year will be the first time that Street Fighter 6 will appear in a major tournament. Yep. So does that add new pressure to that?
Of course. Yeah. We want to do it right, but it's not so much the tournament itself of running it. We've mastered that. Yeah. Right? We've got, a lot of my staff works at Combo Breaker, Evo, vice versa. Like we know how to run the brackets because once you're prepared, My worry is it's going to be the first major event running on exclusively PlayStation 5 for a new game. So with only 3 weeks to prepare, we'll find out real quick. I mean, I'm going to buy it day one and run through all the sticks that can work and all that. So My concerns is the players and their experience with playing on PlayStation 5. It could go wrong. It could be easy. It could be great. They could be begging for PC on Twitter the whole weekend. So that is the pressure, but also, I'm the first event running this. If I do it right, it only helps everyone else. And it blows up the scene with Street Fighter 6, which I hope brings, I would love to do locals against smaller events just because I loved competing. And as a player myself, like if I don't like Street Fighter 6 personally, I'm retiring from competing ever again. So it's my last hurrah at this age at 40. But I'm looking forward to it.
You're a dad too, right? Or you have kids?
Not that I know of, no.
Not that you know of? Okay, not someone's gonna show up and make the same face, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, he's my son or daughter."
I tell people if I ever had kids, they probably would have found me on TV by now. So I think I'm clear. But no, it just didn't work out for me. I would love to have kids. I almost got married in my mid-20s, actually, to a Canadian. Just didn't work out, and here we are.
I'm sure that's like the nicest breakup ever. It just didn't work out, eh? Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, you don't talk shit anymore about it. Just you weren't the right ones for each other. Move on. So.
But I mean, speaking about Street Fighter 6, I'm really excited to see this game. Like, I'm very excited. You've probably had a peek behind closed doors, maybe not, but I am super excited to get hands-on with this. I think it's the most excited I've been for a fighting title in quite some time, personally.
Yeah, I mean, Street Fighter in general, right? It always, it raises up everything else, right? Fortunately, it is the powerhouse, but it's good that Guilty Gear Strive has picked up the slack over COVID. Tekken 8 is going to be huge, so it's good when there's all these major games, right? Doing well, but Street Fighter obviously is always my favorite series. We'll see what happens with the Capcom Pro Tour. I don't know what's going to happen this year, things like that, but the community will always bring that game up. I just miss the early Street Fighter 5 days of Street Fighter 4 where you knew the usual suspects of Daigo, Tokido, and you were familiar. Now there's just so many people out there. Even Capcom Cup, I couldn't tell you half the people that are in the finals right now, by comparison because of COVID.
So they were playing today too, I think.
Yep. It's like 9 days, which is insanity to me, to be honest with you.
Wait, do you go out and like, hey, come play at my tournament to certain high profile players? Is there ever not scouting, but like, hey, we're going to actually, because it's such a big tournament, probably high profile players just want to be there. Right?
So the question is like marketing, right? The early days, yes, because of the Cross Counter, Gutex, Mike Ross. I had used them to promote the event. This is like 2011. 2010 was just the forums and locals, right?
Right.
2011, like, how do I get this bigger? So that was the first year I had Tokido and Gamerby, international players at my event.
Gamerby is still heavy.
Still awesome. I took him and Tokido to they're all
Tokido won Capcom. Tokido's a legend too, right?
Yep. Tokido stayed in my house before. I remember when he came down when Mortal Kombat 9 just came out, and he was having me teach him the game. And every time he hit the block button, you just hear the loudest like smack on the block button because he knew he was blocking because he'd never been used to a block button. So that was
one of my favorites holding back.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
One of my favorite early memories hanging out with him. But so that year we brought them out with Traveling Circus as like a co-sponsorship. And honestly, after that, I always promised myself, like, I'm not going to go out of my way to spend money to bring people. If you don't want to come to my event, then you're not going to be happy there unless someone pays for you.
Right.
I didn't go that route. It does help depending on the game and the industry or what you're doing. But for me, CO has always been like an Evo, right? Like, this is, if you want the best players in the world, just come to this event and help out. So
how often does a newcomer just show up? Like, I feel like, a new challenger. How often does a guy every year, right? Do you feel like there's somebody that just breaks out on the scene at this thing? Like, could be a local or it could be someone that traveled. Like, how often does someone make their pro debut at CEO? Do you feel like?
Well, I mean, generally players themselves, like 60% are always first-time attendees at our events. That's usually the 50 to 60%. But in terms of like from like 2013 to 2017, that's where Knuckle Dew had came into the scene. And CJ Truth, I mentored him in the early days. He used to come to my local events. So I still think, especially online, right? Like, there's always going to be new people that just can't afford to go to an event, and then they get that opportunity. And they kind of show like, I'm just as good as you guys. But a lot of the consistent pros are the ones that spent, their hard-earned money to travel to events on their own and get that practice. I think every generation, right? Street Fighter 5, we didn't know who Punk was until that game came out. Chris G, we didn't know about him until the early days of Mortal Kombat 9 and Marvel 3 and stuff like that. So there's always going to be new people coming and going. which is good for the scene, right? If it's always the same people now, I forgot where I saw the statistic, but like all of our pro Street Fighter players are in their 40s now, right? So it's very, we're all at that age range where we've just been in it, and we're not bringing in as many brand new people as we would like on a
like
professional. Yeah, exactly. Like on a
baseball's having
level.
that problem where the average fan's like 54, and like, how do we get these young kids?
Don't have a game that pauses every 10 seconds.
Yeah, there you go. That would be yes.
Yeah. But there's always new people. I couldn't rattle off a lot of names because now there's just 20 different games to think about and all that.
I know.
But it's good.
Well, and like I saw you, you kind of nailed it. I saw. Are you bringing Grand Blue because they had an update? Is that going to make an appearance too? Or
I did add it. I think we honestly forgot about it. No, we didn't really forget about. I'm like, hey, we're at our limit with games. We want to keep on schedule.
You got 9 or 12 games on the main event, right?
Oh, did I not add Grand Blue here?
It's okay. I'm not trying to say you didn't. I'm a teacher,
no. I'm telling my
I'm just
graphic
looking
artist
at your
right
homework,
now.
and on your paperwork, it's not showing up. No.
That's why I didn't add it, because we're at an even number of boxes, and now I gotta go ruin that.
That one box would be weird, right?
Oh my god, totally forgot. Anyways, thank you for catching up.
No, sorry.
That reminded me of another thing
too. My question was too, when I looked at this Smash Ultimate, how hurt has it been since the Panda and the Nintendo Fallout?
It's still one of the top 4 games in registration. I don't want to talk about that topic too much because I've been on totally all sides. I've worked with all sides of that. Just a shitty thing, man, when people weaponize Twitter to eliminate or get rid of people they don't like, that I'm not a fan of. Even if you are a bad person, it's just there's different ways to go about things, because in the end, you're just hurting yourself and the rest of the scene. But
it's spite. It's just pure spite. It's like that old saying, bite your nose off to spite your face. It's just that to me, a lot of saltiness. But I'm glad. So it's still very highly attended, right? And
Florida's such a huge region for it. I can never get rid of it for the locals. And I wouldn't want to. I've entered Smash in many Evos and made it out of my pools.
Hungry Box is a Floridan, right?
He's an Orlando guy. Yeah. I mean, the guy's Hollywood now, so who cares? But so we talk all the time. He texts me all the time and stuff like, what are you up to, buddy? I'm like, shut up. You never promote my YouTuber streams. I don't need you.
Dude. He's my favorite to watch. I'll always watch Hungry Box play. You're like, who's this guy playing Jigglypuff? He's got a sick beard.
I just wish I could say some of the stuff that these people get away with these days, man. Oh, makes me sad. I would, if I could shit on everything every day, I would too.
You know what? Go for it.
No.
That's what podcasts are for. No,
I know, right? That's the thing. Nobody ever quotes somebody on a podcast. They'll play a video, but nobody's gonna do anything. But if you put it in a twit longer, it's over.
Yes, right. My favorite is when someone's like, "I have something to say," and it's a twit longer, and then it's like, "This burrito is really good." They play it, or it's just like, "Oh, I like that. That makes me happy." Which of these games are you're entering? You're going to be doing 6. You said Street Fighter 6 this year. Will you enter anything else?
Usually not. That was a hard pill for me to swallow. Was I think 2015 was the last CO I actually really entered any new game like Street Fighter, because once I was doing the Pro Tours or Tekken World Tour, I wasn't allowed to enter my own games as the organizer of that event. So it's very hard because I ran my early events to do all these tournaments and everything. So that was a tough one to swallow. But then as I got busier and busier, I'm like, hey, this event's for everyone else to have a good time. If I find the time, I'll go play a Capcom vs. SNK2 or a retro game that I'm naturally good at, that I don't need any practice, and I'll do just fine.
Yeah, you were up at a tournament, a retro tournament this last weekend, right?
Frosty Faustings. I entered a bunch of games and got 5 top 10s.
Yeah.
And I would have done better, but because I'm in 5 different games in a 2-day tournament, I'm running back and forth. I don't get to actually sit down and think about what I'm about to play. I'm just like, this game, okay. Oh, wait, I'm done.
Yeah.
Run back to the
You
other
were talking trash. Was it to the Midwest? You're like, I'm running through the Midwest conference. I'm trying to remember.
The last time I made top 8 in Street Fighter 2 Turbo, they were pissed. And then the guy who beat me, he had a whole squad so happy for the guy. And I realized if I'd stuck to Old Sagat, I probably would have beat him, because he said he's never played any character but Claw Vega. But he was so happy. I actually like when people pop off on me after the game because they're excited. I had somebody at Evo pop off mid-game, and because they had taken a round off.
Bad form.
Oh, he did that. I literally go, not today, my friend. And I turned on that tournament switch and beat him. And his friends were so sad. I'm like, shouldn't have popped off mid-match, bro.
And there's certain etiquette to getting excited, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm all for genuine trash talk as long as it's not
well, you
derogatory.
promoted it CEO with the ring, not trash talk, but you have this like CEO's awesome because the top 8 they end up in the ring, right? Yep. The guy who did the Stone Cold Steve Austin entrance, legend, all of it, right?
Okay, Brad. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how, like, he's got to have the top. Who was it? He came out one of the top Smash players in Smash 4.
Mars, maybe.
No, he was a Mario player. Back it was like Smash, and he came out through money. Yes, Anti. Thank you. Anti's walkout was pretty sick too. I love to watch the intros. Do they have to run it by you and you have to give it approval? Are you the Vince McMahon in that setting? Like, I don't like this song.
Yeah, no,
like, or do they surprise you sometimes?
I used to be, but I got so busy. So I have JT. I'm actually going to his wedding in a couple of weeks. JT, he actually streamed the very first CEO ever in 2010. And then he just got busy with nursing school and pharmacy stuff. Right. And he handles the music now for me. I bring in him and his soon-to-be wife. And they would just kind of make sure the players would get the music to them and all that. But the entrances, I'm like, guys, if you need my help or anything, please feel free to ask. For the most part, they come up with it. But my camera guys help. Seglia from Tenno Production has helped in the past with the Undertaker entrance we did. So it's getting more and more a group effort to make them as entertaining as possible. For the most part, the players come to us and we go, oh, that sounds awesome. Do it, right? And other players like, can you pick the song? Like Daigo had me pick a song for him one and be like, just use my theme song. I don't know. Or he asked for my theme song, actually. They were simple. So little things like that. I would love to be more entertaining, but end of the day, the players are there to compete and win money and prizes. So I can understand when they don't care about the showmanship of it and they just want to play.
I'm waiting for the one to be like, I need pyrotechnics. Like they come to you with the list. Like, here's the thing. I want to light it up as I come through the side.
Yeah, a writer that has to do with all the different pyrotechnics.
Bowl of blue M&Ms. But so there's got to be. When does cutoff start for when's the last day to apply to CEO for you guys?
To register, I mean, we're going through all the artist alley pickings now and everything, but June 9th is the date this year because we want to be a little bit more prepared with Street Fighter 6 brackets. But usually about a couple weeks before, because that bracket process, it's not easy. To get everything together, the scheduling, finalize that, because, a lot of our events, including mine, would have like on-site registration. It just doesn't work that way. If you're spending money, you're traveling, you should know whether or not you're going to enter. Now, I do think if there was an easier way for us to take like on-site signups, we would make so much money from that. It's just really tough you have to have a balance of people are prepared. You want them to have a great experience. You don't want somebody that last second shows up and ruins that experience for everyone else. That's kind of the mentality behind why we close registration as early as we do, but we still allow spectator passes on site. We do the big Jebaited Land arcade so people can just have fun. And again, that's my goal. Tournaments first and foremost, but add all the little things that bring in more people to see everything else.
Alex, do you feel following COVID that any of this stuff is just a little bit more looser, like harder to get planned solid in the months that lead up, or is it
different because you're a Florida man? I gotta ask that too.
I went to Frosty's, wore a mask all weekend. I follow the rules, but it's just like I haven't worn this in like a year. So I mean, it's everywhere's wide open again. People are ready to move on really fast. I was the first event back after COVID. I was the last event before COVID started. So I've been through the ringer.
Appreciate that. I'm sure. And Florida's been pretty open, but you still probably, because you're manning the Wild West after COVID. Yeah. I can only imagine. Were you ever hit with strikes after the fact, or do people come in and try to come to you and be like, hey, this wasn't convention regulation? Do you have to deal with nonsense like that afterwards? Or
no, not from a legal standpoint or anything. Just attendees, like upset, like, hey, everyone else isn't wearing a mask. I'm like, well, you can protect yourself better, and I don't want to get into all that. So, but every point, every point is valid. But we're in a time where we're home for 2 years, and that really messes with your psyche. And like, I don't trust anybody. All that, I caught COVID a couple times. The first time was bad, but after that was, pretty easy for me to get through. But it's just like, just time. But I'm glad everything's kind of returned to normal.
Yeah.
The only problem is between the beginning of COVID and now, everything shot up price wise, man. It's
Yeah.
insanity.
The inflation is
The costs have
nuts.
nearly
Okay,
tripled.
what did a nice fight stick cost before COVID, and what does it cost now? Like a
Uh,
good fight
That
stick.
is kind of a fair point. Like $200 would get you a good one. Now you want a good Vitrix, or it's like $400. The hitbox is around $200, which more people are using. But I think for a tool that you're going to be using every single day,
It's like when you buy furniture. I always tell someone like, and again, I'm not a furniture, but I'd rather pay for something a higher end because I know it's going to last versus like I went to IKEA and paid $40 for this and it's going to break in a year. You know,
yeah.
But the inflation's crazy too, and it's
Well, I think from a live event standpoint, it feels like everything is so much more expensive. You know, the audio visual, the staging,
Yeah.
like even the rooms and getting the hotel reservations are so much more expensive than they used to be. Like I've been having issues with like venue selection for some of the individuals that I work with. So I think inflation is real and you're seeing it everywhere.
Oh yeah,
Dude.
it's like even hotels, like Daytona hotels were like 140 for a backup. Now some of them are asking for like 275 because everyone's going there. You know, it's just it's something needs to give at some point, and we're our generation are the ones getting screwed, the ones that just want to go out and have fun.
No, it's probably, Arrested Development. Have you guys ever seen that GIF of them? What? It's a banana, Michael. What does it cost? $10? We're getting there. We're getting really close to $10 bananas, and that scares me. Or how the whole egg like fiasco where people were like flexing with all the eggs they bought from Costco.
Or toilet paper. Yeah.
Here's the thing about toilet paper. At the end of the day, we can all use our hand, right? Like, it's not the best investment. I don't know why that became so big.
Shelby, could you please take over as the host?
Yeah, so I would not recommend using your hand.
I was gonna say
I'm
towel.
just saying, if it was Fallout times, right? Yeah. End of days. There's a reason bottle caps are the Fallout currency versus toilet paper.
Back to fighting games, Casey. Stay on topic.
So, fighting games. I don't see Rivals of Aether. Are we going to have...
your point?
Dan's been in the hiding because he's working on 2, right?
A lot of our stuff, though, is like local scenes and stuff. We've hosted those games. Obviously, it's a PC run game, a little bit logistically harder to do, and they have a really big online, like Brawlhalla. Their official circuit is so good. Running it at a lower level compared to them is just very hard to attract attendees and players. So,
and some years, some games have a higher run than a previous one, right? Like,
correct.
I love Samurai Showdown, but I know that scene's kind of fallen off because it's 3 or 4 years old at this point now. And I remember, what was the llama game that was supposed to be
Them Fighting Herds?
Yes, Them Fighting Herds. Is that community still strong?
Very. I mean, they got a new publisher, Modus, that's been supporting them, that does a game called God of Rock. A very dedicated scene, right? But there's some games that'll bring you 20 players guaranteed. Then there's the big games that'll bring you, 300-400. And again, we have a lot of costs and it's expensive. So we got to find a good balance of what we think will attract people, what we can do that'll bring a player that plays that game and another game, but he's not going to come unless that second game's there. Little things like that to think about. But we only have so much time in a weekend. We only have so much space, equipment. We got to pick and choose what we can afford to do for the most part.
Well, like I think of games too now. You think of like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Then you have your platform fighters, and then you have your tag team fighters. DBZ's kind of taken over for the Marvel scene or surpassed it, right? As that's the tag team fighting game that people prefer to play, right? Or watch even these days. And I guess we'll move into news for time. So the platform fighting game that really was great last year at EVO and other tournaments, Multiverse, is really dying off. I don't know if you guys have followed on that at all.
Oh, yeah, I know a lot about that game, but I can't talk about it. So in the early days, I might have had it at my event, but things happened. I mean, I think it's a great game. I was playing a ton of it when it first came out. But yeah, I mean, that's usually how it goes for a lot of fighting games. I just think it is weird that they came in gung-ho, it's EVO support, and now we haven't really seen any tournaments since. But it just Smash just has that history, man. It's been around so long. When all these newer platformer games come, they just don't stand the test of time, I think. And it's a shame because I would love to bring back CO Dreamland where it's all just platforming games. But I think what pigeonholes a lot of these games is a lot of them are trying to follow the PC like Brawlhalla or the League of Legends model. Right. And so they focus on PC.
The games as service models, right?
Exactly. Which works well. It gets the casual players playing, but from like a tournament perspective, it's, I I've seen what this game has done to people when you have to run, multiple PCs and 4 players on the same machine. When the game at first, the developers fixed it, like you couldn't have multiple keyboards and that you couldn't have people play each other on a machine. So little things like that, because it was still it's still technically a beta, right? But I hope they come out with something big soon. But however, all that WB stuff could probably have a hand in it. With the discovery and the AOL, like getting support cut. I just know there's some really good people behind the scenes, and I would love to see that game pick itself back up and come back. But for now, I just couldn't fit it in its CEO because nobody's really done it since Evo last year, and we don't know if people will show up for it.
Well, to see the numbers drop, this is the first time. So the news article reads that it's under 1,000 for the first time since its launch. That's way lower because it had everybody was playing it, everybody was talking about it, and then I think part of it is you're seeing a slow release because the last time they updated or added characters was November. I think it was Marvin the Martian, and adding characters does keep a game alive, but we're seeing a lot of these games with service just die off. Rumbleverse died off. What else died off? Or they announced Back for Blood.
Not died off, but
or they're ending its service, right?
Rumbleverse, which I
Knockout City.
That one. I remember playing that, and there was one Rocket Arena. I don't think that lasted very long. No. It was a 3v3. It was a lot of fun, actually.
Is that the air hockey one? That's kind of
no. It was like a gun game. It was like, imagine a 3v3 Overwatch, but a lot cuter characters.
Okay.
It was a fun game. It was like $5 on EA, like a month later after I told my friends to buy it and play it with me, and they got pissed. Yeah, I mean,
isn't that how it always goes? Like, hey, let's play this game, and then never sing something. Like, why'd I buy this, Alex?
There's just so many options. That's what it is. There's so many people wanting to play.
And we all go back to Fortnite anyway.
Sadly, that's true. I play it still all the time.
It's a good game. I mean,
zero build. I don't play building at all.
I'm the same way, but I think all of these games went for that games as a service model, and the market does not sustain all of these games as games as a service. So something is going to fall by the wayside. This game specifically having the WB backing and the familiarity of all those franchises kind of surprised me. It didn't have more sticking power, but a fighting game as a service is kind of a tough road to pave, it feels like. And even speaking at school, Alex, would you agree, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, Killer Instinct, I worked on it with Iron Galaxy Studios. They were the first, you get a character, it rotates out, the DLC, and that's what everyone's doing now, because that's what makes a company money to keep a game going. So I do like when new characters are added, because it gives you longevity in the game. They have a 3-year plan on launch, stuff like that for most of these fighting games with the DLC. But I mean, just people don't want to play some games. There's nothing that the developer did wrong or anything. It's just the game didn't take off with the casual public, because again, there's just, why invest time in this game when I can go invest in this game, and not worry if it'll finally be released or, little things like that. So, but from a business standpoint, it's just the oversaturation of games. Working at Iron Galaxy, I was helping out with the indie publishing and promoting indie games and going to PAXs for my first time, and just seeing there's so many indie games, just trying to get everyone's attention. It's just, there's almost too many. And
there can never be too many, right? I want more games, but
options are great, but
it's kind of like Netflix. When someone tells me they're bored, I go, how are you bored? How can you find nothing? We have more than ever before, right?
Yep.
There's a game though that I was thinking about, and I think it was, I don't want to say it was from League of Legends, but it was a one. Shelby, it was when you and I went to PAX in 2014, and it was going to be the first free to play fighter, and they ended up going under or getting bought out. It was Thunder something.
Rising Thunder.
Yes.
Yeah. They got bought out by Project L people.
Project L. I was really excited for that game, and I think that kind of service, if anybody does a free to play fighter, I think it'll be the League of Legends.
Well, Multiverses is doing that, isn't it?
But I mean,
I know what you mean, like a 1v1 straight up.
Yeah, doing a 1v1 and then keeping someone's interest. I think the Tencent League of Legends, they've done a really good job of keeping interest in a game, right? They know the mold, and having the WB property is really cool. But I think where Smash beats at the end of the day is there's just so many different options for video game characters that you can use, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see, I don't know what other property they could bring in, right, at this point for WB. They're going to add Harry Potter versus Batman. That would probably be it.
I mean, the new game, right, with all the
Hogwarts
controversy,
Legacy?
it's still
Oh my
killing
God.
it, right,
We
financially.
can't the wizard game. We can't talk about it, man.
Yeah,
We can't.
yeah.
I
Next
bought
topic.
it on
Yes,
Sunday.
yes.
I'll just say it's an amazing game. Like
Okay.
it is like kudos to that team. Like the team that put that together
Yeah.
put together something very special. So
Yeah. Just I don't want to get on any list. Historically, that's not a fun place to be.
Oh, my
the
mic cut out. I couldn't hear you guys.
Yeah, good,
Sorry.
perfect.
Yeah.
No, the one game too, you're talking about like cheap games. I found a really cheap game today. Cocaine Bear, that movie's coming out that was based off the life story. Ray Liotta's final act, the great Ray Liotta. And they did something really cool. They made a cheap web browser Pac-Man game where you're the bear. And I played this for 20 minutes during my lunch today. I was like, all right, let me just see. Wasting my time. I think this is great movie market. I want more camping movies to do cool, like middling video game. Give me something like Donkey Kong, okay, just reskin it.
Well, you're about to get Mario, and that's gonna have Donkey Kong in it. So
That's true. Yeah. I could just get more as I wear my shirt. I mean, like something that's not video game adjacent. So give me something. Yeah, give me give me a Creed. You know what? If Creed 3, if they're listening, here's the marketing thing. Just make a Punch Out with all the Creed. Creed goes through it, right? Give it to me. I'll play it.
Punch Out's actually on my top 10 video games of all time list. So
Punch Out, great choice. Great choice. I know a lot of people have been speedrunning it because Dan Reichert and all the guys at Giant Bomb and then Jeff Grubb's trying to speedrun it right now. I've kind of been inkling to do that too. But
my favorite's the blindfold. I forget his name, but when I saw someone do blindfold, I'm like, I'm never playing this again.
This is dumb. That's dumb.
Yeah.
But that movie, it's just funny to me. Like I like that movies are doing that. I think of old cross promotions, and when they come to mind to me, like the only like Czech Cereal. Do you guys remember the Czech Cereal game?
Of course, yeah.
That was so good. I want more. I want more bad video games that come out from movies.
Download more phone games, I guess, would be my answer.
Oh, I play the shit out of Marvel Snap. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, so Marvel Snap is great. It's only
the best mobile game in the last 5 years, bar none.
Yeah. I don't know how I've wasted so much time. I'll look at the clock and I'll go, "Oh, it's been 2 hours." My kids are like, "Look at me, Dad, feed me." I'm like, "Oh,
dude,
no."
Between my meeting breaks, like if I have like a 20-minute break, I'll go lay in my bed, play 2 matches, come back down.
I know.
So, and now playing all my friends, we talk so much trash to each other.
Yeah,
it's the first game me and my friends can play that isn't a shooter together. Besides fighting games, because all my actual personal best friends, they hate playing fighting games with me because they can't beat me.
you school them, right? It's not fun.
Not every game. Like Guilty Gear, no, they school me, but like Street Fighter. But that's why I'm excited for 6, right? Like 4 was just such a perfect time. Everyone, I used to have locals in this house, like 30, 40 people, just 10 setups, just playing Street Fighter 4. Then 5 came out, and everyone just like, they're pushing too much on the esports side. But 6 really looks like they're trying to bring it back home. I just think in a post-COVID world, things have changed. Online is better. So it gives less reason to go anywhere besides playing, you can just play online and get the same kind of training at almost the same level, right? But that's why we need events like ours to still exist, because we bring everyone together, we get them into the, the product scene and the promotion, all that kind of stuff. So, Legend of Dragoon's available on PlayStation Plus now.
That was a big one I saw today too.
Ridge Racer 2 as well.
So you're a big JRPG guy, yeah? Are you?
Yes.
Do you have Octopath Traveler 2 in your sights?
I played the first one. I got to the 3rd chapter, where you go through every character. So I never finished it. Honest to God, it is very hard for me to play RPGs at a longer scale. The last one I played was Final Fantasy VII Remake the moment it came out, and then God of War Ragnarok, because I've played every single God of War at least twice. But like Persona 5 Royale, I got like 40 hours in. I'm like, when I saw someone spend 140 hours, like I don't have this kind of time. So I will play like 16 though. The sad thing is 16 comes out the day CEO starts, so it's gonna have to wait until after.
Right. It's like your relaxed thing, right? Your relaxed game.
Yeah, it's your reward. Yeah,
exactly. And then obviously the next Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which I'll pay $70 for because I know they're gonna make it a quality game. And they've already stated like not every game it's gonna be like a case by case basis, but I've played, but growing up, Chrono Cross, Vagrant Story, PlayStation 1, one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's one they need to remake. That's what I'm waiting for too.
100%. Vandal Hearts and Valkyrie Profile. Because I had time then, right? I wasn't busy talking to
when I play a JRPG, that's the only thing I play. I'm gonna start streaming Octopath 2 or doing it on our YouTube channel. Because my thing, when my daughter was born, Octopath came out. So it would be the game I'd go sneak out, or I'd be for my wife to sleep. I'd say, hey, just let me take her and it was her first video game too, my daughter's, because we would stay
nice.
up while she'd be on my lap and I'd be putting her, she'd be asleep, and the time would pass. I didn't sleep well. My wife got good sleep because of Octopath Traveler 2. So it's a beloved game in my house.
That's awesome.
But I'm a big JRPG fan too, and I see the Final Fantasy. So 16's the big one for you. And then will you be playing that on your Steam Deck, do you think? You're going to try to move it over there eventually?
I have a lot of portable emulators. I have a Switch OLED. I have the Steam Deck. Like, I just kind of dabble real quick in games, but something like a Final Fantasy, I'll have to play it on a big screen and like PlayStation 5. If something's available exclusively to a console, I'll always play it that way first. If I had an option, still probably stick to console, because now, as you know, early years of me traveling in the FGC, I would take my OLED, I'd take like a laptop, a work laptop, just travel so much. Now I've just been taking the Steam Deck and my work laptop and call it a day, right? But even now, I'm like, I can just play Marvel Snap on my phone because Delta has free Wi-Fi and it actually works. So I'm like starting to, as you get older, you kind of start to just be like, you need less with you at all times, like leave it at home. But I love my Steam Deck. I play a lot of emulation on it, to be honest. But I visit a lot of older games just to kind of re-feel that initial feeling, but I never go like, I have to beat this game again, right? I'm like, I've already beaten this experience. Let me find something new. I am personally excited for PlayStation VR 2. I do have a Meta Quest 2. I was messing around with this Logitech wheel playing F1, and I'm a huge Gran Turismo fan, so I'm really curious to see what the quality looks like.
I saw you playing the racing game. That's when I asked you for the interview, you were playing something and your Steam Deck wasn't running correctly. And then you said it was the update. So with the racing games, do you switch because you travel a lot? What's your favorite? Do you prefer the Steam Deck now over the Switch? Or is it just
100%, yeah. And the Steam Deck can emulate Switch, but I do not do that. I only like to.
No, that's illegal. Retro. Wink.
It is a gray area, but no, I have a Switch. Why would I emulate the Switch on something else, right? But
I've never understood
something like
that.
Sega Saturn, I'm not going to be playing that on the road.
Right.
So, I've been taking that more. Obviously, when like Zelda comes out, when Kirby's came out. The last Kirby game, I actually took that and switched instead of the Steam Deck. But the Steam Deck is just a really great device across the board. I don't take a tablet anymore. It's just the Steam Deck. And I have an adapter that's like a portable dock for $50, which is a 65-watt charger. It's called Ace Fast, but it has an HDMI port out and a USB-C in. So if you plug in your Switch via USB-C, you can HDMI out like it's a portable dock, but it's a little adapter. So I do that on my Steam Deck, and I take an Xbox controller, I plug it into the hotel TV and play big screen games that way. But it's just cool to see how easily accessible gaming is across the board. But I can't wait for the Steam Deck 2, man, because they pretty much nailed it. And, you have those pocket window PCs, but they're like $1,200, $1,400 for a good device. Steam Deck really did their homework on this. Obviously, I wish Game Pass worked right away on it, or Epic Games to download all those games on the go. But I really personally believe in 5 years from now, VR isn't going to take over, but I think AR is. I have glasses that they're called the Nreal Airs. I need to finish a YouTube review on them. Basically, it's a USB-C display cable into your Steam Deck or laptop, and you get a 110-inch screen right on your eye. So I travel with it. And what's funny is I was on my laptop, but I dim the screen on my laptop while I wear the glasses on a plane. So I can actually do full screen work. I get multiple screens as if I'm at home in front of an ultra wide, right? Yeah. So, but because my screen's dark, I'm typing on it, and the guy sitting next to me goes like, "Sir," and I like take the glasses, like, "Yeah." He's like, "What are you typing? There's nothing on your screen." I'm like, "Oh, I'm looking in these," and I showed him. And he goes, "Holy shit, that's amazing!" Yeah. But I can watch like full screen 110-inch movies, and you can have light blockers on them, so you won't see anything behind it, or you can leave them off and still see your full screen, and you can kind of look around and still see everything around you. So
yeah,
I really think instead of people buying these big screen TVs anymore, in a couple of years, they're just be like, hey, just wear it on my glasses, right? We're slowly edging towards that.
That's so cool.
But yeah, those glasses, they're $380. If you have a Steam Deck, a USB-C laptop for display like a MacBook, it's worth every penny. It's amazing. And you can play consoles on it, but you need an adapter.
Right. There's some work around to it. That's still really cool. But also people look at you like you're crazy, right? Because you have it on your eye.
But the glasses, they're not that annoying. They're in my suitcase because I'm about to travel. But they're not they're actually getting more normal looking. So, but if you look close, you can see light emitting out of them. They're like two OLED screens, right?
You kind of look like the anime character that comes on, like
exactly. But I really think we're aiming towards that to have more accessibility that way, and just have your own screens, but the productivity side of it, and then once VR glasses become smaller and smaller, and then it's just like a chip inside the machine, inside the glasses, I think that's going to be the game changer and take things to the next level.
How often are you traveling? Like you are so busy. Is it almost like 3 weekends a month? What is it?
It's a seasonal thing, honestly.
Okay.
Like once April hits, I'm going to LA for WrestleMania weekend now, and then I'm going to go from Los Angeles down to San Diego on a train or private plane. I want to get into that. Then go work San Diego, come back home, and then combo breaker. So I'll have like a month in between. But like once it's summer, it's like Evo, CEO, but
super busy,
not
right?
as bad as it was. 2019, I did events in 8 different countries in 1 year. In 1 year's time, Australia, India, Rotterdam.
I'm tired just hearing it. Like, wow.
It was, but I was a single guy. I didn't have a dog then. It was easy to do all this stuff.
Right.
But going back, man, I don't know how I did all that. I'm like, dude, I'm tired. I just want to play a game, stay at home, travel only when I need to. So luckily, I don't do all the worldwide DreamHack events anymore officially. If I'm asked for and I'm available, I'll go help. But now it's like, I would say that year, I remember I was gone 32 weekends out of that year. It was almost like a pro wrestler. But
I was going to say.
Right? Now it's like, I would say like 15 events a year or weekends a year. So not as bad.
Okay.
But I love it. I've got Delta first class all the time. Yeah.
WrestleMania question. Do you want to see, is Rhodes going to take it or should Sammy? Should the
I know Cody personally. Yeah.
Okay. Because of AEW, right? Tony Khan?
So I'm loyal to AEW through and through, but I will tell you the bloodline and Cody.
Are you a Jags fan then too?
I do love the Jags. I've always been a Cowboys fan, but being friends with Tony Khan and stuff, I follow the Jags a lot more closely just out of that. And I went there to a game. I actually went to one of their, when I first did the shows, they invited me to their New Year's party. That was at the Jags Stadium.
Oh, okay.
But it was only the AEW people. So we had the fireworks in the stadium. It was a really cool feeling.
Yeah.
I had a cigar with Cody Rhodes at that event. Those 2 years were the best 2 years of my life, hanging out with Kenny consistently and doing
Kenny
that
Omega,
stuff.
Right?
Yep. I'm still close friends with him, but I think I would love to see Cody end his story. I just don't know if he's going to be the guy to beat Roman, but I think they'll divide those belts and he'll like go after it through either Sammy or whatever. But Sammy versus Shinsuke Nakamura is one of my favorite matches ever, but I don't follow WWE anymore. Not just because AEW just wasn't, it was losing its luster for me as a WWE fan all my life after seeing AEW and just becoming more of a bias in that way. But the Bloodline, man, they're just killing it. That whole thing is incredible. Paul Heyman, every time he's on screen, you want to watch that guy talk. And it's motivating. So, and Xavier Woods, good friend of mine. I love everything he does.
Woods. Love what he does. He's a big nerd. I mean, there's so many wrestlers that are gamers too. The correlation, like the Venn diagram of wrestlers in video game, like the circle is
taking over.
They overlap a lot. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time as we wrap up the show, but we like to always do like a game or a fun segment when we end. And this last segment we like to do is called Who Said It? And it started with, we do a thing in July called JRP July. Every July we do it, and we did it was called Bad Guy or Taylor Swift. And you had to say if it was a video game bad guy, a real life bad guy like Stalin, or Taylor Swift quote. And I was like, okay, same game, but it's Who Said It. So I'm going to give you a quote. And I'm going to give you 3 people, and you're going to tell me who of the 3 people, one's a video game, 2 famous people, right? And you're going to say who said it. Shelby, you ready to play?
Oh, I'm ready to go.
Shelby's got a pretty good pick record for the most part, but
okay.
This first one. The only monster I need lives inside me. Okay. Was this Adele, Cammy from Street Fighter, or Marie Antoinette?
Oh, this is tough.
Yeah. It's surprisingly harder than it sounds. Like going into it, you're like, yeah, no, this will be easy. And then not as easy as it seems.
It's absolutely nothing what I was expecting. I mean, you wouldn't bring up Antoinette unless you did some research on her. Monster lives inside me.
No Googling. Hands up.
I'm not.
Okay.
Trust me.
You'd surrender Cobra, right?
I'm going to go Marie Antoinette.
Okay.
Yeah. Repeat that again.
The choices or the quote? Or
no,
both?
the monster inside me, right? But the choices.
Yes. Hold on. Where did I just do with it?
It was Cammy,
Marie Antoinette,
Now, is this just a video game win quote or a like from the actual movie she was in?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't spoil too much.
I'm gonna go with Cammy on this one.
That was an Adele quote. That was
not Adele.
That's an Adele
Get
song.
out of here.
That's hilarious.
That's the best
What
part.
the
I
I
love
don't
that.
like this game. Yeah,
I don't like this game. All right.
In no way do you describe Adele as a monster. I think that's why that's such a crazy right hook.
All right. The next one. It is in your hands to make a better world for all who live in it. Now, there is a theme. I'm using fighting video game characters and fighting quotes, right? Because you're the fighting guy. I had to do that. Is this Dalsine, Nelson Mandela, or Taylor Swift?
What was the quote?
It is in your hands to make a better world for all those who live in it.
Nelson Mandela, 100%.
I feel like it's Taylor Swift. Casey's secretly listening to Tay Swift all day, every day.
Oh God, who doesn't love Tay Tay?
Midnight's a great album, but it is Nelson Mandela. Good job.
Thank you. I know that quote. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great
Nice.
quote. It's a great one. Okay. Every moment.
You should have
gives-
gone Nelson Mandela or Gandhi. That would have confused
Oh,
the shit out
that
of
would
me.
have been, giving you two of the serious. That would have been good. Every moment gives us a chance to become more than we are. Was that Tom Petty, Ryu, or George S. Patton?
George S. Patton.
I'm going Ryu. There's got to be a character that pops in. There's a fighting game character that pops in at some point, right?
One day I might just do that where it's never the video game character. It's just the famous person.
Every
But
answer
no,
on the bubble sheet
It is Ryu. It is Ryu. It is Ryu. It is Ryu.
There's so many
Nice.
games, man. Those you don't read those and remember the quotes. Come on.
Okay. All right, here's the last one. This war is not about your personal vendetta, it's about mine. Was this?
Oh, it's a video game character for sure.
Is it a video game or movie? I should say the actress. Is it Chun-Li? Is it Jean-Claude Van Damme? Or is it Ra's al Ghul?
Ra's al Ghul, like the Batman
Ra's al
bad
Ghul.
guy? Okay.
No, what was his name? The guy who played M. Bison in the actual Street Fighter movie. Isn't his name-
Raul Julia.
Rod, yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
I wrote it down
repeat that again.
What's the quote again?
Yes, thank you. I read it wrong. Sorry. This war is not about your personal vendetta. It's about mine.
Oh, no, that's Bison.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
It's actually probably Chun-Li, but yeah.
It's Chun-Li from the movie. It's
Yeah,
actually
okay.
her
I
line.
remember. Yeah, I remember
'Cause
that
she
conversation.
hates him. God,
Yeah.
that movie is
And that was
such
the same part where he says, "For me, it was Tuesday." Right? Was that conversation?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
That is a great 90s. Going back to like, I think the Cocaine Bear is on this level with the new Street Fighter movie. Of we know it's going to be bad, but it's going to be so bad it's good.
It's like Sharknadoes, man. You got to watch them
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, you just gotta, it's just mindless entertainment. Well,
You know,
Alex,
they've gotten good once they originally.
Yeah, give me one more, man. These are good.
one more. All right. You like the game? All right.
I didn't say I like it. I'm just curious.
Okay. Hold on. Let me pull it up. I only had this many prepared, but I have one more. All right. Here we go. All right, my last one. There's nothing worse than losing without learning your lesson. Was that Vince Lombardi, Clark Still, or John Mayer?
Definitely Vince Lombardi over Super Bowl shit.
John Mayer.
It's Clark Still from King of the Fighters.
That Clark. I didn't think. I'm like,
Yeah. No one says his last name.
You know,
Okay,
it's
we'll
funny.
end it on
Here's a
that
quick
one.
side story. The early 2000s, whenever the Sidekick, the T-Mobile Sidekick came out,
Yeah.
one of my first mentors in Street Fighter games was Trent Van Devin, and we used to go to Gainesville from Orlando, about an hour and 45-minute drive for tournaments because Orlando at the time didn't have as many as Gainesville. So we go. We had a buddy.
Because University of Florida is in Gainesville, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, that's
the Gators.
Okay.
And Trent and Rick Stalvey, one of my early mentors as well. Trent had a Sidekick, and I still had like a T9, whatever, Nokia. And we would play trivia because it was like the only phone with internet access, and we'd play Yahoo trivia, video game trivia. So this kind of reminds me of that. We would go, and I'll never forget, man, Rick Stalvey. He would drive us right to Gainesville. He had like a truck, and at every toll road, we went to an event on Valentine's Day, and every toll road, he would give the money, and when the person would give him the change, he would grab their hand, and be like, "Happy Valentine's Day," and drive off. And that's probably messing with that person's head the
That
rest of the
person
freaking
just staring
day.
at their hand for the rest of their day.
So, like, if you ever drive on a road, right, don't be an asshole, but like beep at someone. They're gonna like remember who's that asshole who beeped at me. They're never gonna forget it.
Yeah. They're
but
gonna
he'd be like-
remember the handhold guy, not the beep. The beep.
He was
whatever.
like, "Happy Valentine's Day," and then pull the change out of their hand. I'm like, "Oh my god, Ricky."
You know what?
So,
I wanna think of that story. Maybe that changed someone's life. Like they were having a really bad day, you know, and that was like that saved their Valentines for them and turned their life around.
I used to do that like Wendy's, or like I'd always make them laugh with something, and like that made your day better. It's like, yes, thank you. You know.
Yeah. That's good.
So that's all people need, man. People just want to be acknowledged and appreciated, and laugh and have a good time and not have to think about bullshit 24/7. So stay off Twitter.
Right. Well, I appreciate you for coming on and laughing with us, and
of course,
and telling
you guys
jokes.
are super cool. Where are you guys based out of?
Oh, we're out of Seattle. Or like Tacoma.
Oh wow,
we're closer to that. So we're in the.
So you're not coming to CEO, is what you're saying?
No, here's sad truth. I've never been to the state of Florida. I feel like Florida and I would mesh really well.
Oh, you're missing out. Yeah.
Disney World, Universal, definitely on my hit list. And you know, beautiful beaches. But no, I watch CEO every year just because I'm big into the Smash scene and I love what you do and I love your passion for it. So this was a really fun podcast and I really appreciate you coming on.
Anytime, guys.
And if you're ever in Washington and want to get a beer, it's on us.
You know, I actually applied for a big boy job out there. Didn't get the job, but I was mentally prepared to move to Seattle last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'll talk about off stream.
Oh, fair. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. We get the fun stories, Shelby. Yeah.
It could happen. Who knows? But I've been a Florida guy all my life, and I'm like, you know what? I almost died in that car crash last year, right?
Right.
I've been doing the same shit for 15 years or most of my life in Florida. Like, take a chance, right? You only get one life to like take chances and take risks, and CO is always going to be there. I'm never going to give that up until I'm dead. But it's just like I wanted to see what else was out there. Didn't work out. I'm still completely happy with DreamHack, and that we're going to San Diego, right? I'm actually excited for San Diego because California, it's unions out there, insanity from what I've been learning the last couple months.
California and insanity go hand in hand right now. I think that is the correct statement. Yeah.
So it's just
I said it. Don't worry. I'm not getting in trouble.
It's but I've been to Seattle a couple times. Beautiful place. Somebody I used to date actually left Florida after all these years and moved out there, and she's the happiest I've ever seen her. So
oh, cool.
I'll never leave the Pacific Northwest. I love it up here.
Yeah, I just don't know how you guys can afford that shit. Like, I love San Francisco. I wanted to move there all my life, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna go to a 1-bedroom for $4,000 a month and have 4 roommates. Like, how do you people live like that shit? So
no. Florida, you can, for sure.
Yeah, in terms of Seattle, we just bought before it got really expensive.
Yeah, we grew up here, so we got in before it got really big, and we're like,
even Florida's doing that now. It's insanity. So yeah.
Well, Florida's kind of blown up too. I know a lot of VC money's going that way, so a lot of good things to come out of Florida, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a shitty governor, but it's not as bad as people think, man. It's spacious. Your driveway can fit 6 cars. You don't have to force your friends to Uber to get to your place in California.
And no one said they had to be nice cars.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm happy out here. I would love to live somewhere else to try it for a few years, but I'm pretty cemented here in Florida with family and all that.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe if you're out for PAX this year, we can sync up and get a beer or something.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. So that's usually August, September.
September, Labor Day. Yeah.
Guys, thank you for coming to the show. I really appreciate your time.
For sure.
Okay.
Shelby, take us out.
Is there anything that where can our followers find you, Alex?
Just at Jebaited on Twitter. Usually, I do have a TikTok, Alex Jebaited. I would love if anyone watching, please subscribe to my YouTube.com/CEO Gaming channel. I've been doing reviews. I want to get 100,000. I just want that plaque, and then I'm going to quit doing YouTube. I'm at 40,000, and I barely use it. So imagine if I put in work. So I would love to have as much support.
Dude, you quit doing the fighting game stuff. You just be a YouTuber.
You know what? Honest to God,
Jebaited reacts. I'm telling you, that's the videos you got to make.
One of my sponsors
we'll talk off air. I can produce it. I got ideas.
One of my buddies goes, just do Jebaited reviews and then the item name. But I was gonna say, I tell people have told me, it's like, Alex, why don't you do more content? Why don't you do? I'm like, because I'm afraid to actually make real money from it. That I'll never want to do events again.
Right? You would never go back.
I would never go back. But I just like connecting with people. I like that people respect and look up to me and ask me questions because I'm here to teach the next generation. I'm not going to be that old guy like fuck your new ways. Like, no, I like your
Yeah.
new ways. Things need to change and progress, and I'm all about progression. So
Same.
I want to be there to help.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, we definitely appreciate you being on. And if you want more from the Underpowered team, feel free to follow us on our socials. We have a Discord. Come join. You can follow us on Twitch. We also have a TikTok, YouTube Shorts, wherever you'd like to find us. If you are listening to the audio version, please leave us 5 stars. If you'd kindly do that, we'd be appreciative. 5 stars. That is a wrap for this week. We are out.
Play your games.
Later.